Well, I did want to start off with talking about your fight this weekend. You're obviously facing Regaldo, and you've said a lot of interesting things. Pretty much, if what it feels like overlooking him, saying he's not much of a threat, how's an easy money day. What do you actually think of his abilities, and why have you said these certain things during fight week?
Well, I don't think he has many abilities that are like really put a threat against me. Cause realistically, he hasn't really fought anyone of like worthy. And I think his last knockout was like Venom Executor. I'm pretty sure, bro. It's not very predominant like wins over knockouts or anything. His outboxing skills are meh at most, as he was getting outboxed by Jack Hanma on a 1 hour notice. So, he's not really much of a threat. I don't really think he's going to be much of a threat. None of his skills like poke out to me as like I should really worry for this. It's just like an easy win for me realistically.
Mm. Why do you think he got this fight? Obviously, being a welterweight, there's a big future for the weight class. You have obviously the fight coming up on at 299 with Reem taking on Trips Norton. So where do you think you guys fit? Like the winner of this fight, where do you see yourself going next? Do you see yourself waiting for whatever happens with Pablo, or going straight to a title defense with someone else in the weight class?
Um I personally think I'm going to have to defend, which is kind of tragic because I kind of want to get, for another belt as soon as possible, but I wouldn't mind defending if I have to, but if I can, I want to try to instantly go for like unification, but most likely I'm going to have to defend.
Let's talk about your camp for a second. Obviously, uh, seems to be going very well. You're in farmland, correct?
Yes.
So it being like probably the best training camp in PBC today. I mean, what is so special about it, and why has it been so helpful throughout your training camp so far?
Over our farmland, we have really good, like useful and resourceful people that'll give like very good tips. Even though I'm like I'm like the main trainer, we still have people like TJ Cash and Buford and Law, and we have who else? We have Monkey that shows up every once in a while. The ex number one pound for pound. We have Hatred. We have Kai. We have Reem. We have Cable. We have a lot of very predominant fighters in there that you have the opportunity to spar and just get the feel of like this like highs like skill level taste. And it really just helps me gain experience for like any fight coming up.
I understand that while you're in what is the equivalent of American Top Team in PBC, do you see the value in a smaller training camp, or do you think that a bigger more volume team benefits more than just like a small tight knit group?
I honestly think you could get good off of just like one or two people. I feel like if I just consistently sparred the same people that are really, really good over and over again, I would get the same result as the high volume group, if not more. But it really just depends on how you feel, like just adjusting to different styles or just getting someone that is like extremely good to the point where you can just kind of learn off them and they could give advice. So it kind of just depends on the situation. But me personally, I'd prefer like a small group of people to work with.
And when you're sparring, if you see a fighter with like a much different style, do you get one of your sparring partners to emulate it, or do you try to find someone else that has either fought that person, knows how they fight, or they other someone who does emulate that style already?
I just try to find someone who can emulate it as similar as possible. Not exactly, but just so I could get a feel or understanding of it. Because I know if like I'm gonna fight someone like let's say Riley, who's predominantly an outboxer, I'm gonna try to fight people who are predominantly outboxers so I could get a feel of like, how this feels. Because I know no one's gonna one-to-one replicate his style. It's really impossible. So I'm just trying to use as much knowledge and spars to just really get down a style or like a feeling of a style.
Mm. And does learning his style come from you just watching his film, or does it mostly come from being in the action and figuring and try to counter it in real time?
It mainly comes from countering in real time. I like adjusting like mid fight. It's the best way I learn because I feel like if I just like look at someone, I feel like I can do that because I have the confidence of it. But if I just don't know what it feels like or I'm just uncomfortable, like I'm just obviously gonna not do the best. So I like I like personally just trying to get into action before I try to really study.
Oh, that's interesting. And let's move on to the promotional side of this fight because it's obviously going to do big numbers for a fight night this weekend. You're an undefeated guy. There's obviously a lot of hype going into Regal, despite you being a heavy favorite. So, why do you think that you've become such a big draw in a short period of time? Is it because you're active in the community, or is it mostly because people like to see you fight in general?
I think it's a little bit of both. I'm really active in the community, like you said, and I just know like relatively a lot of the people in there. You know, I've hosted a lot of like nationals and things like that, and I'm just like pretty well known. And my last prelim fights, a couple of people like would just go out of the way to watch a prelim fight. It was on like the biggest stage too, but like still, like people were there to like watch me fight. And I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of both. I feel like I do definitely bring on a show whenever I do fight. My last two most recent fights, I've knocked out both of my opponents in a very like fashionable way. So I feel like I do just definitely bring a certain side of my style to really bring people out and watch me.
With you being pushed this far up on the card, do you feel a sense of pressure that you need to perform at your absolute best or give us a highlight of something we've never seen before? Or do you think that you just want to take care of your game plan and win your first title?
I think there is gonna be an amount of pressure whenever I do enter that ring, but I feel like it's like whenever I really just get my like mind together and I just concentrate on what I'm doing, I think it's all gonna go away and my game plan is just gonna like seem way more clear than it is like right now. Because I feel like my training is a lot more harder than the actual fight. So I'm just trying to get the hardest people I could spar and just try to get an understanding of how good I can get in this amount of time. So whenever it does come to the fight, I can make a game plan really quickly and adjust really quickly rather than me being nervous and just kind of panicking.
Yeah, because obviously you can make adjustments mid fight, but it would really help to know what you're going to do going in there. When you get into this fight this weekend, obviously there's not much time to adjust. It's pretty much a 6 minute. I think it's about 6 minutes of action if you go through 12 rounds. So where do you see
Mhm.
yourself getting into that groove over a 12 round fight? Because I don't think you fought a 12 round fight before. Am I correct?
Nah, I've max fought 7 rounds. Yeah, 7 rounds.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself in that fight being able to say, okay, I'm in the zone, I've adjusted, and now we're gonna take care of the game plan for the rest of the fight? Or do you think you're gonna need to be constantly adjusting considering he's a very high level fighter and you need to, figure out he's gonna be switching his game. It's gonna be like some sort of chess match in there.
hmm I feel like I'm gonna try to adjust at round two fully. Hopefully, I'm gonna be fully adjusted, but I want to get it round one. I want to really feel him out round one, if not get as close as I can to a knockout. Because if I feel like if I can get close as I can to a knockout without adjusting anything, that means that either I've prepared really good or my style is just enough to counter him without doing too much. So around, I want to say round two. Usually that's whenever I like concentrate because that's what happened in my last fight. Whenever I was on the last replacement, my like it just kind of clicked to me like what I was doing, and I kind of just adjusted and I just started zoning in.
Well, one of the things I look at when I'm calling a fight is there are certain critical rounds in a fight where the big action will usually happen. This comes when there's multiple rounds and someone doesn't throw power, or when we can pretty much guarantee there's a round where both guys are going to throw powers. Usually, when it comes to the pattern, it comes within every even round. So rounds 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. When do you look to throw the power specifically? Do you ever like save it for multiple rounds, or do you look to those even rounds to really make something happen and just have those odd rounds like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11 to prepare that?
I don't really have a specific pattern from when I throw powers. I just kind of try to set it up during the fight. Like if I see an opportunity where I could throw a power and get an easy shot, and like let's say an odd round, like let's say like round three, I have an easy shot to throw a power and I could just get the round. I'm gonna do that, and then I could later get it on an even round. It's just more of so trying to set up the power and what works in the current situation rather than trying to plan out a future like, okay, I'm gonna save this power for this round and then just use it on this one instead.
We've seen some like chaotic wars over the years. I mean, you remember some wild fights. Just recently, one of the reasons Smiley Lopez lost against Pablo Morsi, besides other occurring factors, was that early power. But we've seen some wild fights over the time in PBC. 297's Brick Diaz versus Elias Esposito is one of the best fights we've ever seen.
Hmm.
And but when you're in those chaotic situations, sometimes it does get away from you. I've seen people throw early powers many times. So how do you stay calm when you could potentially be getting into? We don't know how it's going to happen, but you could potentially get into a firefight with Ryley Regaldo. So how do you stay focused in that environment?
I really just try to stay calm, really just try to trust my skills enough where I could just confidently go into the fight and not kind of panic. I just put all my confidence in my game sense and the knowledge and skill that I've built up leading up to the fight. I don't think too much about like, oh my gosh, people are watching me, or if I, mess up, I'm gonna lose. I think I just trust myself so much that I don't really need to worry about that. Like I have so much self confidence that I feel like I don't really need to worry about those chaotic type of situations because I've prepared for things like those. I've been in those situations and I have pulled it out before. I've like successfully did what I needed to do. So I feel like it's just gonna come through eventually, and I won't really need to panic or really need to worry about those types of situations too much during the fight.
I think we talked about this in the post press conference for 298. I think it was you were in Antonio's corner, correct?
Hmm.
Explain like what happens, like well, specifically when you're in a fight. Explain what the conversation is like when you're in that different VC and you're just talking to each other. What game plan is going through, and what specific advice do you expect your corner to give you?
I really just expect them to try to check me because realistically, I don't need too much of a corner. I mainly coach myself, and I'm able to just realize what I'm doing wrong most of the time, and I'm able to fix it, which is the reason why I feel like I'm more of a predominant fighter in my weight division. But I do expect my corner to check me. I feel like I know about the game enough where I know how to do things. If they tell me what to do, like I'm able to do it. So it's just a matter of them checking me and them like making sure that I'm doing the right thing or I'm like doing the right set of like mechanics to try to avoid it or continue pressuring or things like that, things of that nature.
Speaking of guys like Antonio, I mean, obviously the old guard has continued to stay around in PBC for a long time. Obviously, we would think that for PBC 300 there'd be a new guard, but no. Instead, it's headlined by two legends in Hatred Stroud and Antonio Alvarez. At some point, we need to see a new guard come around. Do you think you can be one of those guys to lead that new generation of boxers for PBC? Because obviously, you're 5-0. You're fighting for a shot at the title. Many people have already almost coronated you as champion, and now, I mean, you could potentially be up in line to dominate the welterweight division once you get enough defenses to the top. So, how do you think you stack up in the new era of PBC bot fighters?
I feel like in terms of new era fighters, I'm definitely gonna be more towards the top as I have led most of the new eras, like Buford Chimes, one of the most predominant, new era fighters kind of just popped out of nowhere and beat Saint Santa Cruz. I've helped him for literally most of his career to kind of build him up. I didn't intentionally do it. It was kind of a mistake. I kind of just met him. But I have led other new fighters. I've cornered many, 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 many fighters of new gen and old gen. And I feel like I'm definitely going to be up there whenever I get my shots to finally prove myself as worthy of being up there in the talk of like one of the best of this era.
Yep. Well, yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, weren't you up for grabs when it came to the upcoming the new generation? There was an award last year for
Oh,
2023
prospect of the year.
prospect of the year. Were you up there?
Yeah, I was in the. I didn't think. I think I got close to going with TJ Cash, and same with Coach of the Year. I got close with beating Grams, but that was a very controversial decision.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, you're not only just a prospect, but uh, you're also up there for coach of the year, which is very interesting considering that you're technically someone new to this game. So, where do you think you are better suited as a boxer or a coach at coach? Because you've already seemed to pick this game up very, very well. and it's definitely translated into how well your people have been doing.
I honestly think I'm better as a coach. Like as a fighter, like I'm not. There's not too many opportunities in my weight division. There's not many opportunities just in general as a boxer. I feel like I do better as coaching, which is probably why I'm gonna take a little break before I have another defense. It's most likely gonna happen. So I'm probably just gonna more focus on coaching instead of boxing. But I feel like when I do get a fight, I will definitely put my all into it because, like I said, Riley's not much of a challenge. So I feel like any other fighter, I'm gonna have to put definitely more effort in. So yeah, I definitely do think I'm better as a coach rather than a fighter.
When you said Reem Barnes was in a farmland and he is in your weight class, uh, do you entertain the idea of ever having to cross paths with him to get to undisputed for welterweight because he's going to be fighting Trips
Trips.
for two, I think it's like WBA and WBO, and I can't be fully sure, but and then he's going to have to go through Pablo. Do you see yourself uh, crossing roads with him at some point, and would you be down to make that fight happen?
Yeah, like I said before, back in my first press conference, that I'd be down for sure to definitely fight the winner of that because I know the winner of Reem and Trips is gonna have to fight Pablo for unification, and I would definitely want to get in of the winner of that to get like either undisputed or just get for the belts and later fight for undisputed. I for sure think I'm gonna have to fight cross paths with Reem at some point in my career because it's either Pablo is gonna lose to him and I'm gonna have to fight him for unification, or Pablo beats him. And if he's in the weight division still, then I'm obviously gonna have to defend against him at some point to defend my, titles.
Yeah. What do you think about
Yeah.
Pablo as a competitor too? Because he's had a great run to the belt, no matter how somewhat controversial it is. He's obviously beaten some of the best. I think he beat Romani uh, for the shot at Smelly Lopez, or to
Hmm.
just be up in contention. Then he beat Smelly in what was a very good performance, but many people believe Smelly won that fight anyway. But now he has something to prove. Do you think that he is a true champion in the weight class? And do you think the what fight do you think would be more important for him? Depending on who wins, do you think Trips would be a more telling opponent for him, or do you think Reem would just be more important for his legacy in general?
I think legacy wise, Reem is a way better fighter to have on a resume rather than Trips, a new up and coming prospect who really hasn't beaten too many people like of noticeability. Like he's mainly fought on things like Roblox where it's kind of just free picks. So it's more so I think Reem is definitely like a way harder and a way more better person to fight for legacy. And I do think he's a true champion, regardless of what people say in the Smelly fight. I think regardless whoever came out that fight is a true champion and deserves to stay in welterweight as a champion. I don't think either of them should like be thought of as not like a real true champion because they were both put up a really good fight. And Pablo, of course, put up his good skills. Obviously getting knockout of the year against JSK.
Yeah,
He's had an amazing run, like you said. So yeah, I definitely do think he's a real champion in this division. I think he is a real problem,
I
but
agree.
that's just an issue I'd have to solve later.
Yeah, and obviously it's gonna be a hell of a gauntlet to get through. I mean, you got depending on who you face, you're taking on Regaldo, who's no easy challenge, and then you have potentially who do you think you would face next if you had to like had a have a middle in the road title defense to get to either Pablo or Reem?
Um, Honestly, I'm probably gonna have to fight the winner of my co-main, John Ward versus Romani. Realistically, if I had to defend, I wouldn't mind fighting either of them. I'd prefer to fight Romani because John Ward is a very good friend of mine and he's really skillful, and I believe he's really gonna show it. Saturday, but I really just I would really hate to have to like fight John Ward as he's been a really good friend of mine for a long time. So it'd kind of be a little sad because I've been helping him train too for this fight up and coming. So but it would still be very good competition. I do definitely think he is a problem in this division. Still, even as like a lower like ranked fighter, I definitely do think he is competition.
Yeah, and if Romani wins and you get the desired fight, I mean, would you would we expect a face off if you win the title this weekend? Because that probably will be a heated bout because he beat your guy and all that stuff. Do you think that one, do you respect him, and second, would you absolutely give him that shot before anyone else?
I'd probably give him the shot at like a belt. I mean, might as well. I'd rather like try to fight him and like me get the revenge for John Ward, like hence he beats him rather than someone else. I feel like I just want to do it myself. And if the belt's on, I don't really care if the belt's on the line. I know I'm gonna beat him regardless. Not many people in this division can give me comp. I'm definitely one of the best, if not the best, in welterweight. I have full confidence to say that, and I'm gonna prove it later in my career when I get these opportunities. I'm gonna prove that I am the best welterweight in this division. And I just genuinely don't think that if John Ward somehow loses, I don't think that Romani would pose a threat. But I would definitely give him the title shot if he does beat him.
Speaking of the future of PBC, and obviously the welterweight division has a bright future ahead of it, even after we get past this gauntlet of fights where Reem's going to get to Pablo. Let's go up to PBC 300. Obviously, it's an incredibly stacked card. There's so many great fights on it already. Honestly, it's already surpassed UFC 300. Despite I think that's a
Mhm.
great card too. But at the end of the day, all roads lead to that night 2 card, which looks completely stacked with fights. I know the easy answer is to say Antonio Alvarez fighting. That's obviously going to be the fight you look out for. But are there any other fights on that entire card in total where you say, "Wow, that is a fantastic fight and would be a main event pretty much anywhere else if it wasn't on
Um,
that card"?
I'd have to say the day two co-main Buford Chines versus Saint. I genuinely think that could have been an easy 301 or 299 contention easily, as that is the one of the biggest fights you can make in PBC right now. Yeah, there's two big stars, Buford and Saint. I feel like that would definitely be a main event any other card rather than 300. But it is still placed very well at 300. I feel like it's definitely getting the light it deserves and the opportunity that to like for everyone to see their skill and everyone to see the fight happen.
It's really a shame to think that like Buford, you could call him one of the biggest draws in the sport, and now he hasn't really had a pay per view main event yet. So I know you're in the same camp as him. So what do you think of his fighting abilities as a whole, and what do you expect from him going into that fight?
I expect Buford to do good. I know Saint is a very good competitor too. It's not gonna be too easy for him, as I know Saint has been training, tooth and nail for this fight already, and the fight is really far along away. I definitely think it's gonna be a really good competition. I think Buford will somehow find a way to pull it out realistically, because his skills in spars is matched by maybe me sometimes on like a good day, and like Monkey when he's like playing the game more. Like there's not too many people that could really give him competition, rather in the camp or like just generally. He's a really skilled fighter, regardless what it comes to. So I definitely think he could definitely win and show off his skills truly.
Yeah, one of the interesting topics I like to discuss is the how stacked each weight class is. I mean, I have this debate in UFC all the time where I'll see, well, lightweight, has top to bottom the biggest stars. Bantamweight is the deepest weight class. When we talk about PBC, it comes down to I think two weight classes, in my opinion, and that is middleweight and junior welterweight. What weight class do you think is the best in PBC and why?
Junior, I'd have to say I think I agree with you entirely. Junior welterweight or middleweight, because they're both really stacked. We have good stars like Yoshan Crawford. We have Kai, Andre, Toby. We have Croc. Not really. I mean, yeah, he is. Yeah, he's still a star. We have a bunch of stars in junior welterweight, and then middleweight. We obviously have every single belt taken up by someone.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tank Matthias too in junior welterweight, obviously.
Oh my
Yeah,
god, it's crazy.
every belt. There's like both divisions have superstars in them, and they are both really good. In terms of skill, I feel like junior welterweight is definitely a harder one of the harder ones, not the hardest, because there's obviously junior middleweight where it's like really the highest level skill. But I think it's the second hardest when it comes to skill because you have so much talent in that division. I think I'd have to say junior welterweight is my favorite division.
As a spectator, I mean, when you're looking at this fight as a spectator, what do you like more? Do you like seeing a weight class with a great deal of parity where one guy can just knock off anyone in that weight class at a good on a good day, or do you prefer the dominant champion like what we've seen with Antonio Alvarez through multiple weight classes, or what we've seen through Aiden Wright when he became undisputed and when he got his redemption arc against Bibi Herrera? So, what do you like more, the dominant champion or the weight class with a lot of chaos within it?
I like a weight class with a lot of chaos. I feel like if it's one person holding the belt and truly dominating a weight division, it becomes a little boring because you know that you get to a certain point where you're like, oh, who's his next victim, you know?
Yeah,
Rather than you get a division where it's action packed, everyone's knocking out each other, everyone's beating each other, everyone's losing. You don't know what's going to happen next, and there's so much skill and diversity. I feel like those type of weight divisions really prosper in terms of like promotion, scale, belts, and like everything. Just it genuinely prospers more rather than one dominated weight division.
and when it comes to that promotion aspect, you see middleweight guys. They have the biggest personalities. They're always chomping to get at each other. There's so many guys in that weight class. Buford's a big personality. I think Cody McDonald's in that weight class. Pruitt Smith is in that weight class. So many guys just with loud mouths, and they're able to back it up very well. So, but I want to talk about your style of promotion. How do you think you promote your fights? Do you think that talking to smack, or do you think actions like well, I saw earlier today with Van Winkle? He showed like a video. He showed like a picture of was it John Ward holding someone at gunpoint? Do you think it's like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
you think that type of promotion is more effective, or do you think the pressers and stuff like that has more staying power?
I definitely think like when it comes to terms of pictures of what the person is doing, like action wise, definitely speaks a lot more than just a press conference where you're only just talking and stuff. Things like the John Worth thing where he's holding a guy at gunpoint is like it's more promotionable as it's something to really look at and like it gives you kind of a deeper look at it rather than just answering a couple questions and giving you an
Yeah.
answer and that's it.
And honestly, the press conference lately, like I haven't seen them, but I've heard they've been pretty stale lately. So a lot of the effective promotion has come from guys like Van Winkle just getting these stories out. So I think it's very cool to see that take place.
Yeah, I do think it is too. These press conferences have been kind of wonky. My card, there's not a lot of loudmouths on here. Half of my card wasn't even there. Um, like Riley wasn't even there. It was mainly the co-main that was really talking. And I don't know, press conferences have been really stale. The
Yeah.
promotion is kind of like relative to press conferences. The promotion's kind of but I mean, it's still gonna be a good card regardless. There's still gonna be a lot of fights, a lot of good fights that I want to see myself. Like Josh coming back, one of the biggest, no the longest undefeated streak. Like I obviously want to see him fight and come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very good weekend of fights. Unfortunately, I can't be there, but I can tell you now that your commentary team is gonna be very good this weekend. So
Mhm.
play is gonna be Parker. Jackie Ripper's gonna be your color commentator. Smelly Lopez, as you requested, will be there, and I'll have Duro as well. So I think you're gonna enjoy that. You're gonna like the product you see there really well. But I do want to actually switch gears because I have been working on something for March, and the reason I'm releasing this episode tomorrow is because we I have a project going. So as you know, March Madness is coming up, and since no one really cares about the tournament in general, I decided to do an interesting thing where I do two or three brackets for PBC to vote on, and
Mhm.
one of them will be the greatest PBC fight of all time. I'll probably get that set up by the 10th, and then there will be the greatest sports moments of all time, which I'm currently working on as we speak, and the
Mhm.
last one will be oh yeah, the greatest boxer in general of all time. So I did want to
Mhm.
get your three takes on this. Let's start with the greatest PBC fight of all time. You've been here for a minute. What what fights stand out to you?
Well, that's actually a tough one. Farmland made a tier list about this too, actually. Best fight of best fight that I've seen. Has to be either Antonio versus Dan or Smelly Lopez versus Yo-Yo. Those are really two predominant fights that I like a lot
Ooh,
personally.
when did the smelly yo-yo one happen?
That happened before the Antonio one. That was whenever Smelly finally defended his undisputed against Yo-Yo, and he won. Successfully defending them.
I think the ones I look at lately specifically are when it comes to scale, Alvarez versus Santa Cruz 3 was just brilliant in promotion, and the walkouts were incredible. The fight was great in general. And when I look at like pure chaos, I go back to much more recently. Honestly, I haven't been here very long, but the one I always go back to just recently is Brick Diaz versus Elias Esposito. That is like one of the greatest brawls I've ever seen.
Oh
They
yeah.
just did not care. That was a great fight.
That fight was really funny too because whenever we were cornering Elias, or I think it was round 3 or 4, we told him, we were like, bro, we don't even need to stay in this voice chat because we were in a private voice chat. So we
Yeah.
brought him to the main VC in Farmland where everyone was just talking, and he's like he needed like one more knockdown in a row to just finish the fight, but since he couldn't concentrate, he just kept on getting knocked out. So after like the third knockout, we were like, okay, we need to go back. We need to go back. So then that's why it kind of like shifted really quickly why Brick was like fighting back so much. It's because we kind of like goofed up a little bit.
It got so intense at the end
Oh
because
yeah, because they were like one hit off of each other from
yeah,
knocking each other out. Yeah, it was a really good brawl. I like that fight a lot too.
you know how if you've seen the fight with John Wei Lee and Joanna Jacek, how like Joanna's face looked like after that fight, it was like a massive hematoma on her head. I just like
Yeah,
pictured both of those guys just like looking like aliens after the fight because
yeah,
like the KOs were insane. Like the last one, like I know Elias won the fight and deservedly so. He was incredible in that one. When Brick Diaz hit him and he just like slowly fell down like a
yeah. It slowly
statue.
fell down. Yeah,
Like me and Smelly just lost it. It was crazy. But that was a great
yeah.
fight. The next one will be the greatest boxer of all time. And now obviously everyone has a different answer, but I want you to give your Mount Rushmore. Give me 4 guys that you would consider to be up there. Because it's really hard to
Four
call the GOAT.
guys. I want to put Antonio up there, of
Oh no,
course.
I'm talking about real life. Sorry.
Real life. Oh, real life. Okay, real life. We could put Canelo for sure up there.
Okay.
Canelo, I guess, kind of like the IRO version of Antonio. Canelo is for sure one of my like favorite fighters to watch in terms of like skill and like the way he just fights. Gervonta Tank Davis, another really predominant
I'm talking
fighter
about all
too.
time, by the way. So these are
All
all time
time?
going.
Oh, all time too. Okay. Um. I have to really think. All time. Well, it's I forgot his name. Hold on, let me find it. Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sugar Ray Leonard is definitely one of my favorite fighters. I used to love watching it, like old clips of him when he would fight. And let's put Mike Tyson in there too. I really like Mike Tyson. Whenever like I box in real life, I for sure try to emulate his type of brawling style where he shifts and twists and kind of goes up and down in his dodges to try to avoid punches. I really like his type of style.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the way like I know he got hypnotized in the ring. He's just one of the craziest characters I've ever seen in sports, and he's definitely going to
Mhm.
be on a lot of slots on the greatest sports moments lists.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of his fights where he just completely knocks people out, or the way he just dominantly fights people. I feel like he's definitely up there whenever it comes to like greatest sports moments for sure, because he's had a
Yeah,
lot of really good ones and a lot you could choose from.
yeah, I love his quote where he said, I take this in stride too, and I do what I do is do what you hate doing like you love it. I just use that when it comes to like running track all the time. It's very, very helpful.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a so wise, but so like dangerous at his time. Like people were so afraid of him. I mean, I think
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone in his absolute prime could have beaten him. I truly believe that. I don't know if anyone could.
I feel like there definitely could be one person. I just don't know who, but I feel like someone at
I
some
don't think that
point could
person's
beat him.
alive yet. That's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah, I
hard to
know what you
top
mean.
Prime Mike.
Yeah, Prime Mike was just a juggernaut. He would just run at you and just knock you out so much.
Yeah. So how about your last two guys?
That was sort. We got Canelo, got Mike, got Sugar Ray Leonard. Hmm. I want to do a new one. Hmm. All time. In terms of new era or like newer fighters, I like Isaac Pitbull Cruz.
Huh. Now, I'm obviously a boxing novice, so educate me on this guy. What makes him so special?
He's kind of like he's like an actual pit bull. He'll kind of just like stand there in front of you and really just brawl you, almost like a Mike Tyson, but he does it so well and fluently that like he can just take a punch and give you one way harder. Like I said, just like a Mike Tyson, kind of just a newer version. And he's a really good fighter, really predominant fighter. He fought Gervonta Tank Davis and lost, unfortunately, but he is still a very good fighter, and I definitely like watching his fights.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I think my four. I'm always surprised when I see people not putting Ali on the list. I feel like it's an easy choice, but when I'm actually like going seriously, I think Ali is one. Number two is this is just personal bias. I think Pacquiao's number two for
Mhm.
me. Uh, I mean, it's impossible not to put Mayweather on it because he's just done so much in the sport.
Mhm.
And then it's a toss up for Roberto Duran or
Mm.
I don't know, maybe Tyson. The thing is, there's always a caveat if Tyson didn't fight like in the prime of the heavyweight division. Obviously, there was a revitalization in the '90s, but I don't
Mhm.
think he had the greatest competition. I think he would have beaten anybody, but it's really hard not to overlook the fact that his competition wasn't as good.
Yeah, it was definitely at a lower than like the golden age of the heavyweight division. But I feel like he would definitely be a still very predominant fighter. I feel like he would definitely knock people out as much as he was doing before. It would just either not take as like little rounds, or it would take a harder challenge. I feel like
Yeah.
he would still definitely knock people out still.
I think it's one of the few. I think Joe Rogan said this best, where yes, people seen more skill today, but if you take the mentality of a guy like Mike Tyson and throw him into today's boxing landscape, I think that mentality would carry over to where he would develop the necessary modern skills that these heavyweights have, which is a lot more speed, head movement, great defense, like Tyson Fury has. And I think he
Mhm.
still would cause a lot of chaos, and I think still dominate too.
Yeah. I feel like even with like his like training regimen or like the way he would do things, even in the 90s, even put him in modern day age, he would still be a very big threat. Or even just give him like modern day technology, like the things we
Oh
have,
my
the
god,
knowledge we
he'd be
have.
a monster.
Huh?
He'd be a monster because I mean he was already insane with what he had. Imagine with that mentality and giving him all
Yeah.
the tools he needs to win.
Yeah, I feel like just mentality is such a big thing, and I think mentality would definitely carry over even in modern day era. Like if we had fighters like how we had them either in the 90s or just like how Mike did, this era, like this newer era of like just anything, if people just had that mentality, it would be much different than it is. His mentality was so much different from people. It stuck out so much and it helped him and it really showed in his fighting because he had a very like traumatic type of backstory, and I feel like not as many people or like little people have that type of backstory, and they kind of have different mentalities, so they don't have that like monster in them like how he did. So I feel like if definitely more people like that existed, it would be way different.
Yeah, that's a good point because it's not this isn't always it doesn't always apply like this, but I feel like there's a different gear and people who come from poverty to really
Hmm.
rise up and do and achieve their goals. Because sometimes, like, I think I read about this where sometimes the best motivation someone needs is to go through those struggles, and it's this interesting balance between should we be helping people or do they need struggle in their life to be able to achieve what they need to do? Because if you give someone a lot of privilege, what will they do with that besides maybe just sitting around doing nothing? Maybe it requires struggle to do those great things, which is why a lot of those great fighters come from very poor places. I'm not saying that's a guarantee. You can always follow a different path, but I think with guys like Tyson, who came from nothing, then that's really the great motivator that they came from.
Yeah, I definitely do think coming from that type of background really does forward your like way of, I guess, kind of going about things. Because it's not even just if you like, if you, I feel like if you have like a more of a privilege, it's like, oh, I lost whatever. It's like whenever you come from places like that where you're at the lowest of the low, the deepest of the deep, it's like you have to do this. You have to go through this. People need to struggle to get better, to get to the highest they can get at. I feel like there's no real way that someone could be at the top and never have to struggle and be the best. I feel like you definitely have to struggle to one of the deepest degrees you can go and to be like one of the best. I feel like it really launches you and gives you the certain like mindset or skill sets that you need. You kind of like learn things as you go along. I feel like coming from like a more of like a, I guess, lower end or a lower class really kind of pushes that along you because you grow up with that. You're used to that. You have to adjust to it and adapt. And I feel like people like Mike really showed that back in the 90s because not a lot of fighters really came from like a lower class than like how he did.
Yeah, yeah, it really showed. I mean, it's pretty crazy that the what it took to beat him in his prime took a lot. And if you know the story about Buster Douglas, he was in that lowest of lows.
Oh,
His
yeah.
mom just died, so he was like, he just decided that day, like, I'm not gonna lose. It's just not gonna happen. So that's what
Yeah.
it took that type of mentality to beat Mike Tyson, which I think is a testament to how great he was. And also, I mean, in that fight, he kind Buster Douglas kind of got a slow count, which may have had something to do with it. And
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not saying that was all what happened, but I'm just, yeah, there were factors that went into it. But yeah, it really goes to show how great Tyson was. So let's move on to the last one, which is going to be the greatest sports moments ever. This is very subjective, but so far what the list I've got, I'm still trying to set up the bracket and everything, but I've got like some general moments. So this can come
Mhm.
from pretty much any sport. It could come from a trilogy. It could come from a game, one play, if it has to. But what would you consider some of your favorite sports moments ever? Either it was your team that won, or your athlete that won, or just like something that stuck out. Was like, wow, that was insane.
Um, that's really hard to choose. I really don't think I could put it as my favorite. I don't think I can. I don't even think I could give you a top 10. That's really hard to choose because there's obviously been a lot of moments in history or just in general where like there's just like a wow, I can't believe that happened, like jaw dropping moments. So I really don't think I could like put them in a list like how you want like the best sports moment, but
Well, just anything to come to mind that you would like to share. I mean, that would work too. Like for example, uh, I got I got a few that are put up here. Let's go with George Foreman winning the heavyweight title at 46 years old. I think that was one of the best
oh yeah,
moments ever.
after he regained his titles after like what 20 years I think it was.
Yeah. Like he was
Yeah,
supposed
that
to be
was
washed up and he goes and beats Michael Moore, I think was for the title, and he just dominated. It was a wild, wild moment. Like 46 years old. This is the
yeah.
guy who lost to
Oh
Muhammad Ali in the jungle. I mean, that was crazy.
yeah, that was. I feel like that was really. I feel like that could definitely go up there for sure. One of those type of moments, or whenever what was his name? Sugar Ray Leonard, right? Yeah, whenever he killed that one dude in the ring, I
Oh my
forgot
god, he
his
killed.
name.
Oh, he killed a dude. Yeah. Hang
Yeah,
on.
that moment was really crazy. That was one of the crazier ones too, for
Wasn't it on
sure.
TV too?
Yeah, it was live. It was live because he had him in the corner and he was just beating on him, beating on him, beating on him, and he fell down and he just wasn't moving at all, and
Oh, was this
he kind of
Robin?
kept on
Was this
going.
Robinson or Leonard?
I think it was Robinson. I think it was
Okay, yeah, it was
Robinson.
Robinson. Okay.
Yeah.
Hang on, let me see who he did it to. It doesn't say. I think it was. Jimmy Doyle is who it was. He sustained uh head injuries and he died later. That is crazy.
Yeah,
That's
that was
wild.
one of the craziest moments I've ever seen personally. Well, I didn't obviously wasn't there, but I like
Yeah.
watching it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the later stuff that comes to mind, Israel Adesanya beating Alex Mejia like he did, Messi,
Hmm.
Messi finally winning the World Cup in one of the
Oh
greatest games I've
yeah,
ever seen. I mean, that's like the one time I like bothered to watch like the World Cup that year just because it was available at the time, and that was a
yeah.
what a final, what an incredible game
It
to
was
watch.
incredible. It was a really good matchup. My school, like a lot of my classes, like stopped the teaching lessons to watch the World Cup to see Messi
Yeah,
play.
that was like
Because I'm like a Mexican type of school, but yeah, like they're like it was one of the biggest events ever. So it was really good seeing Messi, win the World Cup.
that's
Just that
yeah.
matchup in general.
That was a weird moment because like the US was in it. I mean, I think my school stopped. I don't think I was there that day, but like they literally stopped teaching and like packed us all in an auditorium to watch the
To watch
US.
stuff.
I think it might have been Iran or Wales, one of those two games. But yeah,
Yeah, it was Wales. It was USA versus Wales.
yeah, I mean, that was a big moment, and like some of the best games happened like during that point. Like we were watching Netherlands take on what was it called, Argentina. That was a
Oh, yeah,
wild game.
that was a really good matchup.
Like that was a wild game. Like both those teams going at it, and just the animosity with it. Messi turning full heel like that. That was crazy.
That World Cup was definitely something. But just like this, those types of things were
Yeah.
really something.
I think the last one I do want to mention. What else do I got on here? Something interesting. Well, one of the number one seeds that are going to be on that bracket is going to be. I don't know if you know this one, but it's going to be the kick six Auburn beating Alabama on a 109-yard touchdown. College sports is going to be very prominent on there just because of the environment. So I don't know if you are a follower of college sports like college football and college basketball. But what do you think about it?
I definitely think it's good. I'm not really much of a follower. I know like very little about it, but I definitely think it has a lot of talent for sure. There's a lot of crazy moments that I've seen where college students or college like teams are able to do crazy things that you wouldn't
Yeah,
really expect from them. And I think there definitely are a lot of moments and a lot of good, like I guess you could call them prospects in that like kind of division or scene that are definitely going to be seen in the future.
yeah.
But yeah.
Speaking of a hyped up event, your fight's obviously coming up in just a couple of days. So Nestor Patrick, I wish you luck in your endeavor to take on. Is it for the WBO welterweight title? Which one is it
Ring
for? The
magazine,
Ring
ring
Magazine
magazine.
title. I wish you good luck in that one. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me about it, and I can't wait to see. I won't be there in person, but I will be watching your fight live. So I can't wait to see
Mhm.
how you do.
Thank you, good sir. I'll put up a good show. Don't worry, I'll put up a good show.
All right, good to hear. Good to hear. Thank you for coming on, and that'll be all, folks. Thank you for watching. Catch Nestor Patrick taking on Ryley Regaldo this weekend on I think it's Amazon Prime this weekend. And
Hmm.
thank you for watching. I'll see you around, Nestor.
I see you around, Jay.
All right, thank you.